Hello, good afternoon. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the organizers for inviting me here, for inviting Microsoft, especially our friends from IDA at the National Cloud Computing Office. I really appreciate your invitation, and what a journey. CloudAsia conference is just, look at that, right? It's just growing and growing. It's really amazing. Congratulations. All right, I want to talk to you about two things, and I'm going to use some slides, my friend Justin. Just want to leave you with two things very quickly: trust and data. All right, and hopefully I can. Well, my objective is to also talk a little bit about soft enablers on the journey of cloud computing. So hopefully I can tackle more of your questions during the panel. But those are the two topics that I want to just quickly discuss with you: trust and data. So I call it a cloud that you can trust, right? So let me tell you something. There's no secret here that technology is just probably a small portion of the problem of cloud computing, right? On how these enterprises, people, citizens, consumers jump into the cloud. It's more than just technology, right? It's business, it's process, it's a lot of other things, right? So it's very clear, or it seems that it's very clear, and probably that's why all of us are here, that the promise of the cloud is real. The promise of the cloud is real, right? Agility, operational efficiency, OPEX versus CAPEX models. It sounds very reasonable, right? Okay, so people need to trust what they use, right? So that's why we focus a lot of our conversations with our customers around trust. Because how do you earn the trust, and how do you maintain the trust of your customers? It's not easy, right? It's not like you go to the cold storage here in Singapore and you buy 2 kilograms of trust, right? And sell it to your customers. It's not like that. It takes time. So at Microsoft, what we do is we tackle this concept with 4 pillars: cybersecurity, security, privacy, and transparency. All of them create, in a certain portion, trust as an overall concept, right? So just quickly, a couple of examples here, right? We have heard from the real experts here in security, Andreas, Justin. We need, as cloud service providers, we need to provide a certain degree of security, of course, minimum set of securities. Otherwise, why should you be using your cloud, our cloud, right? So it's a given. If you don't have that level, minimum level of security, you're absolutely dead. So that's why we focus our energies on compliance first, right? So we comply to international standards so we can show to our customers what are we doing with your data specifically, and how do we handle the information. That's why the ISOs 27000s and the FedRAMs and the MTCSS here in Singapore, all of those standards are very important, because we are giving confidence to our users that we are handling correctly the information. So compliance, sorry guys, it's a minimum, right? Security, it's an interesting topic, and these experts already mentioned a lot of things here in this space. There's a lot of techniques right now to help us secure the information, from the end user to the data center, between data centers, data at rest. So many encryption techniques, it's amazing. To be honest, a lot more than we can sometimes consume, right? So Sometimes the challenge is we oversell security and we don't look at the problems of the business that we have to solve, but it's very critical as well. It's not just one component. You see, this is a holistic approach. Compliance, security, privacy. We have been focusing our energy for the last 10 years in data privacy, right? And I think you deserve to know where is your data, always. And specifically when you rely on your cloud service provider. So this is, again, it's a minimum, non-negotiable. We have to be very clear. We have to follow even some laws and regulations around privacy acts, privacy regulations. So that's the way you handle the information, and that's the way you have to behave as a cloud service provider. And also transparency that comes, I think, with all the rest of the elements, right? What do? I want to know. You get audited? Okay, I want to see what you get audited. Because, you know, this thing about, I mean, here are a bunch of auditors and experts in this space, but it all depends on the scope of the audit. So I can say, yes, I'm ISO 27001 compliant, and 2 and 18 and all the flavors that you want. But what is the scope of the service you get audited? So it's not the same. It sounds like the same, but it's not apples to apples, even if you comply to certain standards. MTCS in Singapore has 3 tiers. Are you tier 1 in what? In IIS, in PaaS, in SaaS, or you're level 3? Because it's a set of additional controls that you need to comply to. So even if it looks the same, right, you deserve to know. And those are the very small letters, right? When you sign a contract with your cloud service provider, the small letters that will tell you, the service level agreement will actually tell you, hey, this is what I'm doing with your data. I follow the law. I comply to these international standards. I use these security techniques. This is the way I do the backups, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So not easy, right? It's not an easy journey, but we're totally committed, and we're working on our products and services to fully embrace these 4 concepts. And you know something interesting, in 2002, probably you know this guy, created a concept called the Trusted Computing Initiative. This gentleman is called Bill Gates. And basically he said, people are not going to use the technology they don't trust. Very simple, right? It's a no-brainer. But that was 2002. And if probably you're too young to remember, but Microsoft was not well recognized on security back in those days in 2002, right? So he had to shift everything from the inside, include security as part of the DNA. Now we have that concept in place since 2002, and we are extending the Trusted Computing Initiative to the Trusted Cloud Initiative. So all of that part that is part of our DNA is part of our cloud service. Okay, that was the first concept, trust. Okay, second concept, data. Why so important? I think data is the new currency, right? It's the new currency. We in Microsoft, we rely so much on the data and the insights that we get from the data. That's how we stay in the front as a leader, as we really consume the information that we have. Not only the typical information that you have, structured, unstructured, we are collecting as much information as we can, right? Of course, again, privacy, security, right? First of all, the non-negotiables, and then we collect information. So this is our CEO making this quote. All right, so in this journey of cloud computing, let me share with you a couple of things that we're doing inside Microsoft, right? Because I think it's also important that you know that we are also in the process of migrating to the public cloud, right? We use hybrid models of cloud. Private clouds, public cloud, hybrid. And we have over 27,000 lines of applications at Microsoft. The objective is to have 93% of those move to the public cloud. 93%. Not 100%. Because, of course, there are some applications that is just impossible. We have to rewrite them from zero. So it's not like a perfect journey. There's a lot of shades of gray in the cloud. That's the first thing we know, right? So when we talk with customers, we say, hey, this is not a black or white scenario for you. We have to look at the workloads, at the applications, and then we can identify with you the business impact of moving that application to the cloud. If it makes sense, go for it. Doesn't make sense? Doesn't make sense, right? So in this journey, we said, okay, so for Microsoft, this is very critical, right? Data, insights. So how do we help our customers? Because we're doing this internally. So we hired IDC to make a survey. I think it's 2,000 companies, more or less, enterprise companies, customers. And we find out that these are the 4 critical things that customers that are embracing data as part of their culture, data culture, these are the things that they're doing very well. So one is diverse data. I told you, is it structured, unstructured? I don't care. I just need to collect it. Because guess what? With Internet of Things, this is gonna get worse. Or better, depending how you look at things, right? I think better, because we have more insights, more possibilities for insights. So embrace diverse data. New analytics. The analytics that I'm using today can help me with the new data formats? Probably not. Probably not. So I need to open my mind and see what other things are outside where I can consume information. But with the third opportunity here, that's with more people. I don't want gurus in the company, the go-to guy. No, we don't want that. We want to empower you, empower the users to consume the information, to find the information they need. This is not easy, I know, right? But this is what we're doing. Right? And real-time insights, again, going back probably to Internet of Things, with all these sensors and networks and all those capabilities, real insights it's a real possibility. So I think that this is also a category of an area where I should be focusing also my strategies. And again, create a data culture that can bring data dividends to the company, to your company. Well, probably some of these areas can help you. This is basically a summary of what I said, data dividends, help teams collect information from whatever kind of device they have, transform that information to real insights, and make it easier for people to visualize data. I think if you don't visualize the data, it's very, very hard to consume, very hard to find the insights that you require. So in our case, we're using Power BI, which is a functionality of Office, right? It's this simple Excel spreadsheet can give you a lot of information, can collect from different kinds of data, from different kinds of sources. But it's not only that, it's how I can visualize it, right? And make something for me that is useful. So that's one of the things we're doing. And this is one of the impacts that we had so far in this journey of moving things to the cloud and empowering our employees, ourselves, to self-maintain, to self-use, to access the information without the guru, right? We have seen great impact in the company. One thing that strikes me is this 38% increase in adoption by sales and marketing. You know, I don't know, probably in your organizations is a bit different, but in Microsoft, our sellers are so busy. It's amazing. They're getting more and more things to do with less time, right? So they have tools. They have to rely on their tools. So even asking for something internally at Microsoft IT is difficult. Have to follow a process. Not difficult. You just have to follow a process. So let's get rid of the process, and let's give these guys, empower them, so they can cross references from their own customers, not only Microsoft internal information, but what about the social networks, the LinkedIn, the Facebooks? All of this very rich information that we can actually use. So this is incredible. In just 4 years, 38% of our sellers who are very, very busy are now using their own tools to get their own data. There's a trick on this. Let me give you, there's a trick on this. This is not magical, okay? We need a data quality, right? We need data quality. Otherwise, it's very hard to consume. So we had built, and in these 4 years, and again, this is a journey, we have built a data catalog. So we can basically have data quality that these employees, these sellers can use. If you don't have that data catalog in place, it's very hard. It's very hard to empower your users. I mean, this is the analytics spectrum from Gartner. From descriptive to diagnostic to predictive to prescriptive. We have several examples of what we're doing, several scenarios internally of how we are deploying and implementing different applications. Information work, again, self-service and exploration. We use Power BI, as I told you, Office. Nothing fancy, but very powerful. Of course, if you want to go to the really fancy and really powerful, we have machine learning, right? And then you combine the analytics. Other types of professionals inside Microsoft, more on the engineering side, are using data modeling, more on the predictive side, not yet on the prescriptive, and also more on the scientists and our researchers are basically looking at the data scientists and this advanced analytics with machine learning, etc. So again, this is just part of the journey. It's not easy, but data is the new currency. And as Microsoft, as all of our customers, need to really pay attention on this. And this is one of the reasons why we think that moving to the cloud can give you a lot of these benefits, but again, the trust and data quality are critical. So I'm happy to answer more questions on soft enablers later on this journey to what I mentioned to the cloud and going to that 93% of migrations to the cloud and all our line of business applications. Definitely, we need a different kinds of skills in the IT department, right? Definitely. And I have some examples here of the things that we're doing, combining roles, combining competences, right? And combining technology and business, right? Business decisions. We need more people in technology that can really understand not only the problem of the business, but the language of the business, right? Sometimes we're too techy, and the way we express ourselves, sometimes that creates a barrier with some of the business decision makers. I'm telling you this with experience, working with governments. You really need to understand the language of your customer, otherwise very difficult to connect. All right, well, I have only 21 seconds. Thank you so much.